Today, we are really excited to have yet another interesting guest. His name is James. James is the co-founder and CEO of Jambo. You've probably seen it in the news. Jambo is a Congolese startup that recently raised $7.5 million and a further 30 million with the goal of building the largest and most influential Web3 community across Africa, and also looking to onboard over 1 billion people. Yes, hi, James. Nice to see you.
Yes, sir. No, thanks for having me on, David. I love what you guys are doing with BitKE and all the coverage you're sort of exposing to the world on Africa, especially Web3 presence, venture funding, et cetera. So glad to be sharing here.
All right. Thank you as well for just, being willing to be on this interview. And I think we can just start with introductions like we always do. Tell us who you are, James, where you grew up, how it was like growing up in the Congo, and also how you got into the Web3 space.
For sure. So I grew up in Kinshasa in DRC. I was there for about 16 years. Family's still there. My family's been there for 3 generations. I ended up in New York. I studied computer science at NYU, at New York University. Lucky enough, 2015, bought my first Ether. I was exposed to it actually through remittance, sending capital between Africa, between Congo and to New York. And I discovered Bitcoin on a random from a friend, just like many other people, and was able to see some of the benefits and stick with it throughout that time. After I graduated in 2017, I ran a crypto fund for the last 4 years. So lucky enough as well to be known as the African emerging markets guy during that time, had a lot of good deal flow into Africa, into the sector. The problem for me always was finding both an Africa and crypto native team, which is honestly a prerequisite when you're dealing with the region as it's sort of like Southeast Asia and other emerging markets 30, 40 years ago. So fast forward this past year down the GameFi rabbit hole, down the rabbit hole of honestly something that can help change the entire region and its economic proposition through gaming or through decentralized applications. So through that, I took the same value proposition of what happened, with Play to Earn and with other decentralized apps that boomed in Philippines and Southeast Asia, the value proposition of low GDP, great mobile and 4G penetration in Africa. And it was true to me by order of magnitude, where today we're almost 50% smartphone penetration in Africa, albeit mostly 80 to 120 US dollars smartphones with low data, low coverage, et cetera, but still able to work with all decentralized applications through what we've tested. Almost let's say more than half the population is below 30 years old, almost 200 million gamers, and mostly in the larger markets of Kenya, South Africa, Nigeria, et cetera. But at the same time, still face almost a 40, 50% unemployment rate. So what that tells us at Jambo is people in the region just haven't been exposed to many opportunities in Web2, and hopefully Web3 can help them bypass legacy gatekeepers. So ultimately at Jambo, what we're here to do is onboard the next millions of users to billion to Web3, and starting off with our what we call super app model. So happy to dive into that as well. Essentially, though, if you take away anything from this conversation, whoever is watching this interview is, we want to be the bridge to bring the best Web3 applications to Africa for people natively.
Thanks for that intro, James. And obviously, you're definitely on your way. You recently raised $37.5 million. Man, tell us, what's the secret to raising all that money?
No, first of all, I appreciate it, and it's well above my head as well. I think it was just it's the responsibility of a founder to make sure, as we can see, sentiment has quickly changed with the market currently, and to have enough capital to keep your company runway, et cetera, for more than 24 months. That's responsibility. So for us, it was always very clear what we're trying to build and how heavy of operations it's going to be, which is why we need a lot of that capital. So first, a bit on what we're spending the capital on is currently, we're in multiple regions, like we're truly Pan-African and almost 100 people on the ground. And to do that, heavy operations, I always told a lot of our investors, like, a lot of companies in Web3 have the luxury to scale through smart contracts and software. But when you're dealing with a region of 1.5 billion people, with various cultures, 55 countries, 40 something fiat currencies. Let's not even talk about the languages beyond just French and English or Wolof, et cetera. It's crazy. So you're always going to be heavy operations. So for us, that was always a starting point. Regarding, the actual capital raise, we're very lucky. I think Africa has always been the most underappreciated market. We're very happy to see that VC funding going to Africa in the past year has tripled. Obviously, that coincides with a lot of statistics like crypto adoption has gone up like 12x in the last 12 months as well. 3 of the top 10 countries by local Bitcoin's exchange volume is in Africa as well. Number 2, Nigeria, 8 and 10, Kenya and South Africa. So I think more and more, especially input is being put on the region. And we're lucky enough to sort of try to be that bridge and especially bring Web3, which is something that we think tokenomics and an array of other dApps in Web3 can actually help unlock a lot of value in various regions.
Thanks for that. Again, congratulations on that raise. Very well deserved. Now, James, let's talk about what you're building. You say you're building a super app for Africa that will enable Africans make money. Can you break down to us a bit about that super app? How will people make money? And also, how will Jambo make money?
No, great question. So just full disclosure first, we're currently pre-product and product hopefully comes out towards Q3, Q4. So there's a lot of other ways that we have gained traction and onboarding users at the moment, but let's dig into the app a bit. So we like to think of ourselves as sort of you can think of a neobank that helps users earn capital to start and then send capital and save capital. So how that works is at the core of it is a digital wallet and then a decentralized swap. So just like many other, I'm sure listeners are listening to this, wallets or swaps that you've seen, you can change between cryptocurrencies to local fiat. We will have that on Rails system, working with a bunch of various local partners, but then at the core, you can also store your capital inside. So, I think an article that came up on us on Forbes was saying we're trying to build a Web3 WeChat of Africa, which is true to a certain degree because we want to be a super app. What does it mean to be a super app? It means you can be a one-stop shop for your actual users. Over 80% of Africans are unbanked. And a big part of what we're trying to do here is solve that financial sort of issue as well. So we're not saying, send X amount of capital or crypto tokens into the app, and then there's a wealth of things you can do. We're saying by using the Jambo applications, you will already start earning Jambo tokens, which you can swap into whichever other token you desire, most likely a stable coin, then to your local currency, whether that's francs, shillings, naira, etc. So on the earning part, we want to introduce play to earn games. That's a huge component we're doing. I know you guys had a lot of other great guests here, super knowledgeable in exchanges and wallets and play to earn. But a lot of what we're seeing is, if you want to bring the play to earn ecosystem to a market, it's a region that does have, pretty much has never heard of it. There's various, guilds, et cetera, around right now, but you have to build that entire infrastructure end to end. And what that infrastructure entails is on one end, providing digital NFTs for users to actually use, and so they don't have a high barrier of entry. And on the other end, the on-rail and the off-rail for them into their local currency. Now, if you can do that very well, users don't even need to know what chain you're on or what the game is like running on or the tokenomics behind it, et cetera. All they know is they can trade their time for value in the form of playing games. And then after that, why we say we want to be a one-stop shop is you can actually use the tokens that you earned, say, oh, maybe I want to keep this $100 inside the Jambo app. What can I do now? Let's go into the finance part of it. There will be yield generating protocols. This is what I go back to. We want to be that bridge between great Web3 companies to Africa, because there's a lot of really great decentralized applications. I see the humor in this exact moment recording this interview of yield bearing protocols, but essentially, is to bring guys like that into our ecosystem and then grow and introduce it to our users so they can only earn, send, and earn on their capital.
So you mentioned how people can make money. How does Jambo make money?
The Jambo token is where most of the value will accrue to. So our Jambo token will be the native token on our entire application, whether that's from what yield you earn, but the highest might be through Jambo tokens and its protocols. Whether that's doing decentralized swap, a classic, if you have Jambo tokens, reduce your exchange fees here and there. And then obviously, think about, okay, this is something we really haven't shared, too much yet, but I would love to share, here first. So there's a company, right? So if you look at WeChat in China, WeChat is so powerful because of one main reason. If you think about it, it's a messaging app, and around the messaging app, there's a lot of things you can do, like pay electricity bills. You can book airline tickets, the regular super app, Web2 super app. The main thing that WeChat and Tencent is so amazing is that they own data. So a lot of data now they can give you, you see where I'm going with this, a lot of accurate statistics. So similarly on WeChat, they can actually give you a social credit of how reliable you can pay back X amount of money over X amount of time for X amount of interest, which this statistic is actually 10 times, 100 times by order of magnitude more important in Africa, because if you have a population of 80% unbanked, where do people get credit scores? If you're a university student, 21 years old in Lagos, and you need $100 this week to buy something, like where do you even go to get that and to pay that back, as you earn capital in the future? So this data component is very important to us, because I think this can unlock a wealth of value. And this even further brings in to our thesis of building the Web3 ecosystem. We can now share a lot of this to help a lot of other companies that do a credit lending or et cetera in the ecosystem, so they can actually know the users that they're working with. I think a huge part of Africa is there's not a lot of transparency on these set of data for people to actually be able to unlock that value, and know what they're worth and be able to get that through hopefully through various decentralized applications.
Yeah, indeed, I have to agree with you on that. We always get people who reach out to us and they're like, you are the only guys who, you've published information about this and this across Africa. So huge gap that exists. Now, James, I know you're still building the app. Can you maybe take us through how that app will look like from the user perspective? What will they see, for example, when they're using the app? What features do you feel would be of value for, yeah, I know you can't reveal everything, but maybe give us a preview of how that will look like from a user's perspective.
Oh, for sure. I think it's, as I just previously said, there's a few things, right? To start off with, the digital wallet is core, so you can store your capital there. If we can earn, I think one of the most important words when you're dealing in Africa, especially with untransparent sort of markets and various different cultures, is trust. If you can gain someone's trust in the region, then a lot of things can work through you, but you have to bring the best things to the table. What I mean by that is, then if our wallet, say, becomes a de facto crypto wallet of Africa, let's say, because of the products and services we offer, that's something super interesting to us. So at the core wallet, after that, users can swap between the tokens that they want. And even before that, on the third part, is they can play games to earn capital that directly goes into your wallet. So it will be intrinsically linked with whatever game we introduce into the ecosystem. On some other parts, like what I just mentioned, let's say Jambo Cash on the data component, and being able to provide actually banking services and credit lending, that will come later on in the application as we get more data points as well. But to start, I think these 3 points is really what we want to focus on. I think a lot of crypto, there's such grand ideas, right, that you can do to Web3 to bypass legacy Web2 gatekeepers and unlock value and take out middleman. So focus is super important to our team. So we really focus on these 3 components. If we can literally provide an app to help users earn capital, then save and send capital, this, in my mind, solves an array of issues, across locally. Like I grew up in Kinshasa or in Congo, so my mother tongue is French and the local dialect Lingala. Then you go to like Kenya, and then you got East Africa, you got Swahili, then you got Wolof, et cetera, Senegal. So like my point here is there's no one size fits all strategy. What we really want to do is be very local in our approach, which is why I say we're Pan-African operations, because truly in every country, we have to understand locally the needs, and then to go from there. It's really not a one size fits all for everyone. So a user in French speaking, in Francophone Africa, which is around 1/3 of Africa, which I think is honestly very underrepresented and served. I think for one, there's a language barrier of French. So most companies target markets like Nigeria, Congo, et cetera, that have, 200 million people, 100 million people English speaking. Sorry, not Congo, Ethiopia, Kenya, et cetera. But I think Francophone Africa is super important as well.
Yeah, again, I support you on that. I think we've only covered about one app from Francophone Africa. So we always wonder whether there are any products being built there. And yeah, the language component, I guess, is a big factor. Now, James, also, I've seen that you're very big with Web3 education. Tell us, is that a focus as well for Jambo? And so far, how is that going?
100%. Education is honestly our first go-to-market strategy, is what our belief as an ethos as a company comes first. So let me just go into that for 2 minutes. Like a lot of people hear education, especially in first world countries, they think in charity. This is not it. There is no Web3 in Africa without educating the population on what Web3 is first. There is no shortcuts here. So what education am I talking about? I'm talking, you can tell someone, hey, look, okay, let's use an example, like Axie Infinity in the Philippines, right? Like I hate to use Axie as an example, because I love the guys. I think they're great, but obviously, gaming models, etc. But let's just go into like facts, right? Facts is 3 months ago, if you're a scholar of YGG playing Axie in the Philippines, you're making $300. Facts is today, you might be making $30 due to the macro environment. Now begs the question is, do you still believe in Web3 as a user, as a scholar, or did you ever believe in Web3, or were you just doing that to make some capital to go about your life, which is nothing wrong with that. What I'm saying is we're trying to onboard people to Web3. What we want to teach is actually just one subset of play to earn, which is one subset of gaming within Web3. So we never want someone to be skewed in their sort of knowledge and undertaking of this entire region of Web3 based on one sort of experience. So for us, it's very important to educate first. So now what have we actually done? Traction-wise, we've created our Jambo Academy, which we have offline and an online web application. That's sort of like a 10-week program for users to literally, it's the intro to crypto. It's like week 1, what is Bitcoin? How did this all start off? Week 2, what are wallets? Week 3, what are exchanges? How do I get crypto? Locally in Africa, where like, how do I even access this magic internet money? And then beyond that, gets a little bit harder and harder as you go along. Like, what's layer 2? So, instead of what is decentralized applications, you can go to gaming, you can go whatever. So just very important for us, for people to even have that knowledge and be loaded with it, so that say the Jambo application comes out in later this year, they can actually download it and start saying, I see, this is what we learned. So this is a crypto wallet. We can store a wallet here. We can send it here. Oh, it's on this chain, ERC20 to here, to Ethereum. Okay, let's go play. Oh, so this is play to earn. I can play games, earn tokens. They have their own token network. This is a yield bearing protocols. Why do I get this yield, et cetera, et cetera. So education, thank you for asking that, is honestly very, very important for us.
Great. Thanks for that. As you know, we are big on education, obviously. That's why we truly support what you guys are doing. Again, just slightly going back to raising, the new funding also, I know will help you guys expand. I think you even stated some numbers on, how people you need to recruit. Like, can you give us an overview of that? Which cities are you looking at expanding into? When can we expect you in Nairobi, Kenya? I mean, how does that look like?
Most of our funding just goes to expanding our team. Like, we're close to 100 right now. We'll go close to 200. 1/5 of our team is engineers. We hope that number to go up as, we're developing our app, and it's the bear market, or at least sentiment wise it is. There is no better time. Just put your head down and build, and then show the world, what you're actually talking about. Not public token launch, these things, I'm not even thinking about at the moment, because that's sort of in-app. But regarding our funding, everything is sort of going to doubling down our efforts. Regarding a specific region, for example, we don't have an office in Ghana, which is a huge market for us. And the reason is because we don't have a very strong local partner that I'm comfortable with to, directly expand to there, instead of allocating more of our time into certain markets. We're trying to prove product market fit. And we've hired, you can't really hire anyone, I may be wrong, but directly from Web3 in Africa. It's there's no one that we were, at least for us in our hiring experience, like, hey, and he's like, yep, I totally get, everything in Web3, and I'm local to this region, and I can help you expand. Like that would be a miracle. He'd be starting his own company. So the next best thing we're able to do for hiring is hire guys that have scaled companies, business development, et cetera, in their very local region. So they might understand, Lagos in and out. They might understand Kinshasa in and out. They might understand Windhoek in and out. So, and then work with them in that local region, going back to how we're thinking about expanding. I think Web3 will unlock a lot of values there. And that's something that's super important for us around our ecosystem as well. So just another note, a little tad bit to drop to anyone listening is, especially if they're listening to this, they're probably interested in Web3 in Africa. We're launching our ecosystem fund within 2 months. And what this is here literally to do is incubate, invest, and accelerate Web3 talent across Africa. A lot of what I'm seeing in Web3 in Africa, there's a lot of great companies. We went over a pipeline list of guys that you're seeing, local talent, local guys that are solving a very local problem, possibly will be acquired in the future by much larger conglomerates, to solve that very local problem that they're doing that is not as localized, but don't have the funding, haven't been exposed to investors that are able to have the same similar mindset to them. So what we want to do, similar to being the Web3 bridge, not only for decentralized applications to Africa, but also for funding. So I'm very excited to get you guys involved as well and share it to all the community how. And this isn't really like a just spray and pray, anyone trying to do Web3 in Africa. This is will actually connect you to the right person, right? Like if you're doing a crypto to fiat on Rails, this specific region, we could possibly connect you to investors that are looking at that. We could invest, we could get guys that are already in the region, they're very big, that are doing that specific thing to have conversations about business development. So a very hands-on approach is what putting the money into our mouth and what we're talking about.
Really nice to hear that. And I know a lot of people listening to this will be excited to reach out to you and see how they can, join you guys. And maybe at this point would be good to sort of, tell us if somebody wants to work with you, for example, do you have a community, for example, where can they join, where can they go to?
Yes. So anything, just go to our website, jambo.technology. You can follow our Twitter, join our Telegram, join our Discord. We're extremely active, but honestly, if anyone's listening to this and wants to get connected and chat directly, just shoot me a Telegram message at Jambo James. Super simple, and we can get connected directly. But if to just follow and to see our community and what we're talking about, just go to our website, jambo.technology, and you can follow all our channels.
All right, great. We'll also have it, at the bottom of this video. Let's go back a bit to the state of Africa when it comes to regulation. We obviously know where regulation stands when it comes to crypto, especially in Africa. How are you looking at that? Are you looking at that, and how do you intend to go about that?
End of the day, anything that's done in Africa comes back to this word, right? Regulation. So this is the way we think about it. It's quite simple. Regulation will always I wouldn't say loosen up, but there will be more regulation as the industry develops, because Web3 is quite nascent as well. If you think about it in the scope of things, right? Barely a decade old, et cetera, new teams, great talent coming in. So it's not really, I'm not standing on their side, but regulators also, they might not be very well versed in what's stable coins, what the applications, how to actually do that. They might need to form councils. This might be their second, crypto market cycle. 2017 might have, started them thinking about this process. So you look at what's happening right now, Central African Republic coming out with very, very clear cut, adopting Bitcoin as legal tender, right behind El Salvador. You have Nigeria that's saying that they will come out with regulations. I think there's a lot of great founders as well that possibly have already been on this show that I see, have gone funding and building amazing things in Africa that I know are also speaking quite closely with regulators in various countries in Africa. So as long as I feel like guys on the ground that really understand Web3 and Africa and, can help us, we're all on the same team here, as connected to their various local governments and working with them through and thinking through, because it's not like a 0 and 1, it's not black and white. There's going to be a lot of gray area and how to navigate things together. So we really hope to be able to help in that regard as well.
As we wind up, I always like to ask, my guests one question. What is that sage advice would you give to entrepreneurs in Africa or people who are building like you, people who want to reach where you are?
I wouldn't say a sage advice or et cetera, but it's some advice that I gotten from a close mentor that I would say, especially for regional Africa. Are you willing to start over? Are you willing to start over? That's the question at the end of the day. So many people in life, let's go, like say you're climbing a mountain, right? You reach 2/3 of that mountain, take a long time, you go 2/3 of that mountain and you see the top of it. You can see it, but it's still quite a journey to go there. But there is no more road. So now you need to go down, go back, and then find other ways to get to the top of that mountain. And I think that's why so many creators and people that create content are so good, which translates to founders in Web3 do so good, is they're able to restart and to keep going again. So obviously this goes to the old adage of, failure is the beginning of success. So I truly believe that was our personal experience as well. So end of the day, if you believe in Web3 enough and for the region of Africa to change, are you willing to, restart? I think that's where success will be.
So thank you so much, James. Thank you so much for the advice. We really look forward to see Jambo grow into, this huge company, like you said, and all the best.